Hello again, friends. I'm going to do, this one will be on another major scale pattern. And this time we're going to be on page 40. Yep. And that will be this page, I'm sorry, has a pretty bad misprint on it. My bad. So page 40, the top left diagram is where we're going to be working on. I'll show you hopefully by the end of this, not this video, but by the end of the class, I'll show you how to use those other things if you want to explore further directions, or further pathways with this. But this says C major scale in first position. That is incorrect. This is second position. So everywhere on this diagram it says first position. That would be incorrect because our first finger is going to be on the second fret, which would be second position. So I'm sorry about that. Might want to change that. And so there underneath the very first diagram in the top left, it says first fret. No, that is wrong. It is second fret. So that's where we're going to be. Before I do that though, I do want to explain a little bit more the major scale so that when we get to the music theory class, it's not quite, if you haven't heard it before, it's not quite such an abrupt change of pace. But again, I've said this before, but there's, like in math, we talk about this quite a bit in math, there's such a thing as a concept and a convention, okay? A concept is something that there's something to be understood. There's a reason behind it. If you understood the reason, you'll likely have better understanding of the whole thing, and it might help you, whatever. A convention is something that we've just accepted that that's the way it is. So I used a couple of examples before, like why do we use an X for time signs? Why is our traffic lights red, yellow, green? I don't know, maybe there's a philosophical reason for that, but it's just the way we decided to do it. Okay, so how that applies to our lesson today is that the major scale, I think I said a little bit about this the last major scale video I did, but the major scale itself, I would say it's a convention. It is quite amazing how all of it works out so well. And so obviously somebody had some kind of reasons or stumbled upon it, I don't know. But the major scale itself is a convention. We've decided as a collective community in the Western culture, going back to classical music in the, who knows, 1600s, I don't know, that the major scale is what sounds the best. So we're gonna use that. So most of our instruments are based on the major scale and have those notes and blah, blah, blah. So that part is a convention. I don't know why and who came up with that. But the major scale has a formula, and that is a concept. So I'll share the formula this time on this video with you and go into that just a little bit more. But I will say this, actually, if you kind of wanted to, I'm not going to refer to it much. Sorry, the pages were stuck together. But on page 37, there's this diagram of the neck, and you can see ones have spaces in them and ones they're all filled in. Okay, that's the guitar neck. Okay, and so I'm gonna, for the purpose of the lesson, all of our scales are gonna be in C because there's no sharps or flats, so it's just easier to talk about and see the patterns. Especially if we're going to compare to the piano, it'll be no black keys, so it's a little easier to see and to work with. But on a guitar, we'll start here. On a guitar, you could kind of look at these notes as I talk about it on that full-length diagram, the one at the top of the page, and just know that the one, as you're looking at it and reading it as it's showing on the page, like not looking at it upside down, that string that's closest to you is the low E string. But anyway, I'm going to go back to page 40 myself. But okay, a major scale is built in the following way. The root is the 1. Okay, that's your starting point. So let's just go with like the key of E. I'm just going to go because it's like low low E string, it's right there. Okay, so the major scale goes. Each of these frets represents a half step. It's an individual note. These are different notes. All different notes, okay? But we call, now that I think about it, I'm not sure that I know why we're called steps and half steps. Maybe I'll think longer about that and realize that somebody told me that a long time ago, or I learned it somewhere, or maybe I just don't know and somebody will learn me. But each one of these is a half step, okay? So the formula for the major scale, this is on page 36, I think. Real great TV here while I watch or go back and look at it. I think it's, oh, no, page 34. Yeah, 34. This is all on page 34. But the major scale is the root, the starting point. I'm not going to call out what these notes are just yet because I don't want to go back and forth from C to E. But this is E right now. But if you're following along with me, the formula goes root and then whole step, which means half, half. So that's my next one, okay? Root, whole, and then the next part of the formula is whole, so 2 halves. The next part of the formula is half. The next part of the formula is whole, 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 oh, half. So root, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. I should have done that with all the same finger. Whole, half. I'm trying to go by what I see on the screen. So root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. The concept is that formula. That's the formula. That is how to make a major scale from anywhere. Okay? But like I said before, we could do all those notes up the neck. But the cool thing about the guitar is that the notes repeat right here. Once I get to the 5th fret, it's the same one as the next string down. So I could keep going up, or I could just make use of these down here. Okay? Right? So that, and then this string, the A string, the next one up from the next one down from your face, that repeats also at the 5th fret. Okay? And then that also repeats at the 5th fret. The next one, which would be the D string, also repeats at the 5th fret. So a lot of the same pattern going on here. Now, this one does not. I don't know why. Whoever made this up, but it's at the 4th fret. I'm sure those fingerings would be brutal, but nevertheless, from the G string, it repeats at the 4th fret. Fun times, okay? The B string goes back to repeating at the 5th fret. That pesky B string, it's different, but I'm guessing that makes all the fingerings a little easier for us. So thank you, whoever figured that out, I guess. Anyways, so the patterns, you can go all the way up and down the neck. That's a lot of traveling. So it's easier on your fingers to stay in a position, okay? So if you can imagine, these notes continue up here. They're the same notes that happen in here. So instead of going all the way up this low E string, I can start here, and when the notes start repeating, I can just stay in this position and go up even higher, like the last note I could play in this position, in 1st position would be the 4th fret. Now I could go up 1. But that's a lot higher than you can get even up here. So there's advantages. You have a lot more notes to make use of. Okay, but as you can imagine, I can keep going up here, and I could keep going even farther. Or I could stay in this position and to do more. And they're actually kind of linked pretty close, you know? But I could keep going up here on the 1 string, and I could keep going up the rest of the way, or I could stay in this position, okay? you can see, you can probably get where I'm going here. You have different places you can play the scale, okay? That's why when I made the first video on the key of C, the 7th position one, I said there's only ever 5. And depending on how you link them, one might argue with me, I suppose. But really, in basics, there's 5 different, I could play them here, I could move up a little, play them there, move up a little, play them here, move up a little, play them here, move up a little, play them here. There's only 5 different positions to play different patterns for the major scale, for any key. So again, that's good news that we have only 5 to learn. And we did the first one, it was at 7th fret, and we do have the B string, and this is from page 44 or something, I can't remember exactly which one, but it's the same one we did last time. I'm gonna omit that first finger B and start with the root. Oh my gosh. But that's the root. Okay, we can do that there. There's other places to play that. So we're gonna go down to, and there's a reason why I'm not quite going in ascending order. That first one was 7th fret, or 7th position. We're gonna go down to 2nd position, and we're gonna be playing all in the key of C. All right, so I'll say a little bit more. Maybe I should just make another video entirely. I think I will.